Hi there. In this episode, I have a conversation with Gary Bodley about my amazing trip to Egypt, and you hear what I think went on there. But in the next episode, we have Christy channeling white light, and white light confirms and elaborates on some of the things I talk about on this issue. You're going to love it. I actually thought of you when I was in the pyramid because originally I wanted you and Christy to go.
Yeah.
Because I was hinting about that like a year ago. It's actually good that you didn't go because you're a big guy, Gary, and I want you to see from this picture that we had to crawl through some tunnels and some really steep places.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I don't think you would have made it. So I think there was a practical reason why you didn't feel that urge to go because, that would kind of suck that you get there and you can't fit through the tunnels,
Yeah.
But let me proceed. So I originally went straight to the King's Chamber, which is that right in the middle, you see a little temple thing.
Yep.
So that's the King's Chamber, and that's where I had the big experience.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, and by the way, the King's Chamber, it's designed in a way where the walls surround it is by empty space. So it's sitting there, but it's surrounded by empty space because it's all echo, reverberation, and vibration.
Right.
And to go up there is a very, very steep tunnel and then very narrow kind of stair. So I wanted you to see that that in itself was a trek. But you would have been able to make that. But it for some people it's hard. So we got out of the King's Chamber and I you heard my experience, and then we went down to the next layer. And then you actually have to see, if you see that, you have to crawl through a tunnel to get to the Queen's Chamber. That tunnel, you see there's a tunnel, a strip that leads into the Queen's Chamber. The Queen's Chamber is right below the King's Chamber. And that tunnel is it's small. And here's the thing that I got from it is that for a male, if you're a small female, you can kind of hunch by, but for a male, you have to crawl.
Mm-hmm.
You have to physically crawl. And what the epiphany that I had, the vision I had was that so when you crawl, we think about a baby crawling with all fours like this.
Yeah.
But you'll soon discover you can't do that because you can crawl like that for a short distance, but that is like, half of a football field. And in order to crawl for that long a time, you have to crawl like a panther. On three, because you got to put your weight on the middle hand and then you got to alternate. And as I was doing that for a long period of time, I got visions of being an animal. I mean, it's like a panther because that's how you got to walk, is like a panther. And it just brought out that primeval kind of second density being of, in some ways, it kind of makes you bow down in respect,
right,
before you go in there because you're crawling. You're not like the man upright and like proud. You're forced to crawl like a baby or an animal.
Yeah.
And then once we get into the Queen's Chamber, which has a different vibe, just the vibe of the Queen's Chamber was different.
Could you feel it?
Oh yeah, I mean, the King's Chamber. I told you, like, right when I got in there, I got that heat wave. Right, I right when I got to the thing, that's when I felt what Christy said, that you're going to be caught in the seventh raid. You can't get out of it. It was this heat pressure, and that's when I started sweating like a dog. I mean, throughout the whole King's Chamber, it was intense heat, and that's why I looked like I jumped in the swimming pool.
And no one else, did everyone else get that?
No, because I looked around, I thought everyone else would be drenched, but no, I was the only one that was drenched in sweat.
Wow.
So I mean, I explained it through my logical brain. My logical brain says, okay, heat rises. So I thought, you're in pyramid, you're going up those steep stairs, so all of a sudden the heat must have hit that chamber, and that's why it got suddenly so hot. So that's why I thought at the time. But then when I left, no one else was sweating. It was just me. So it's like, well, I think it was just me.
Yeah, nor have I ever heard any stories of anyone sweating while they're there or being hot.
That's true. I haven't either. I haven't either. I immediately felt heat pressure throughout the whole time I was there, and my body showed it. I mean, my body, it doesn't lie.
Yeah.
So when we came down and went to the Queen's Chamber, completely different vibe. You crawl through that space, and then the Queen's Chamber, it's more of a cool vibe, and I just kind of got a peaceful cellular regeneration vibe. And what happened is, I don't want to mention any names, but there's a lady friend of ours, and then there's a new friend of mine. We automatically started doing a dance, and it was obvious to me that she was representing the divine feminine, and she was doing her feminine dance, and then the two of us were like bookends, and we were like doing our, kind of masculine bookends to her feminine in the middle dancing, and then the people around us were chanting light language and singing.
Wow.
And then we were doing it right underneath the ceiling, which is like a perfect triangle set, and we were right in the middle, and it was like a choreographed ceremony dance that we just kind of took over instinctually and did. And I just knew it has something to do with masculine and feminine, because the two guys were bookends to her. She was right in the center doing her feminine dance, and it was like it just took over.
Yeah, not only that, it was this, if she was straight and he was straight and you're gay,
yeah,
and there's three of you and there's a triangle,
yeah,
it's like the whole spectrum there.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah, that kind of makes sense. And and the room itself is a triangle with a really pitched ceiling, and we were right underneath the middle of it, so there was symmetry involved. And then the people around us were singing light language, and they were singing. It just felt like a choreographed something.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So that was really, really cool. And then we went out of the space, because it's time. We have X amount of time, and then the other group, that half of our group had to rotate, stuff like that. And then we went down to the very basement. So if you look at the picture, there is a long basement that you go, and that's the really, really kind of scary thing, in that it's a narrow basement, and you got to crawl for a long time. It's a long stretch. Yeah. And then where you're going to is what they call the basement. Basically, it's Earth. you're subterranean, and you're going into the darkest cave within the pyramid. And for us, they did not have it lit, because they said that part of the experience is that you're crawling into darkness. You're crawling like the length of a football field into darkness, and complete darkness. And then we were encouraged to face our fears, because you're going in a situation, you're crawling into you're scared, and you're going to complete darkness. I mean, we have our guide, so back in mind, so we're not gonna get killed, right?
Yeah.
but still, it's set up for like this theme of exploring your darkness and not knowing. You can't even see what's in front of you. You have to feel the walls in order to walk. And I can hear people crying, right? Because they're from our group. I know they're from my group. So I guess you're not a spirit crying, if you're from our group, because they're all in complete darkness and they're facing the thing. And for me though, Gary, once I got there, and because they lead you to a spot in complete darkness, and they leave you alone. You're there for like 20 minutes in darkness, just to face your fears, and you don't see, or maybe hear a little cry somewhere else, but immediately when I got there, I just felt this overwhelming feeling of gratitude. I just hugged the earth. I smell, you smell it, and it was so cool and comforting that I my experience was there was just of gratitude and hugging the earth. I mean, I basically hugged the dirt wall, and I just got this feeling of safety, and it was cool, comforting, and I just got this feeling of gratitude for the earth. So, and then, I'm sure that is the root chakra of the pyramid, right? I mean, it's all that survival needs and the root chakra stuff. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole thing about confronting your fear just because it's dark, what seems to me you're possibly doing is grounding.
Yeah.
Because that seems like that would have been part of that system, and also water flowing in there too.
Yeah, because the water is down there.
Yeah, I think just to say this is where you confront your fears is just abstracting it, but having no real, because of what it's just dark and there's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I gotta tell you that out of everyone there, I completely took off my shoes the whole time there because I just knew that the energy was going to be so foolish that it's like, you know what? No, I'm going to survive this. I cannot have that rubber shoe. I'm going to need to be grounding while I'm crawling, grounding while I'm walking. So I went through the whole thing barefooted. And yes, in that basement there, I was definitely grounding. I was touching the earth and I was hugging it and I was in appreciation. I felt good that I did not have any fears. It felt good. It just felt good to me and comforting and safe and pleasurable. I mean,
Did other people have fears?
Yes. Yes, they had flashbacks of their childhood. They were in different sections of the basement, but they all had different experiences. Most of them were that facing their fears kind of thing, because the setting was all dark and stuff like that. But ironically, I thought when I was in the bottom, that was the most comforting spot of the pyramid for me. I was the time where it's like, woo, everything is safe. I'm safe here. No more, things to worry about. And the ground was so cool and peaceful. And it was just ironic that that's where people were, scared and freaking out. It's like, oh no, this is the easy part. The hard part was up there.
Yeah, you can see totally different perspective and totally different experience.
Yeah. So then we crawl out and we went back and then I drank I brought a whole new bottle of water. I finished that bottle of water by the time I got out. It was just so hot. And then we all kind of left the pyramid. So the total time was maybe like 2 hours for our group, and it was really really cool. And I'll say that you can sense and talk to the pyramid. I mean, my skills aren't claircognizant. I mean, aren't clear audio, or clairvoyant, but I just get the same kind of claircognizant thoughts of knowing and sensing and feeling. And what I get is that the pyramid is a first density being, right? It is a being in first density, but it's conscious.
Right.
And what I get is like you can talk to the pyramid at first density being because, like all of us, there are aspects of us that are in higher density. So in a way, you can be talking to a higher density form of the pyramid, which is currently in the first density, but you're talking to you're talking to it in a higher density.
Yeah.
And that's how you can get more logical thoughts and conversations with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And I got that it was an appreciation, and it appreciated what we were doing, and it understood what we were doing. So it was a really, really kind of cool life experiencing thing.
Yeah. And who else in that group is talking to the pyramid, even thinking about the possibility of it?
Well, the guide, she does on a regular because that's her thing. She goes to all the temples and she can talk to them. The other initiates there are starting to
open to the possibility that consciousness is just not created by a brain.
Yeah. So that's also interesting. And I mean, it is also with our Joshua retreats is that you see the variety of folks, and some of them are really just beginning, and some of them are really into it. So it's all good, and it's all good for us experience. But yeah, that was kind of cool about it. Yeah. Okay, so the next experience I want to talk to you about, and I'll send you pictures later on, is this area called the Step Pyramid. The Step Pyramid, I'm going to tell you what I get cognizant. The Step Pyramid is built on an area of the Giza Plateau that is in the vibration of cellular regeneration. And that's why the Anunnakis built the Step Pyramid and the various monuments there, is because that part of Earth has a certain vibration that aids in cellular regeneration. And true to form, when you go there, and some of the legends and the tourist things is that there is actually several boxes, stone temple boxes, where you stick your head in and you hear vibrations out of there. And legend has it that it's to regenerate the body. And when I tried it, I actually kind of heard there's a certain vibration that I just kind of felt, oh, this is the vibration of cellular regeneration. It's weird, Gary. It's like a certain buzzing at a certain part and depth of my ear. It's a certain tone. And I just got, oh, that's kind of what they're talking about. It's like a ringing in the air in a certain position.
Do you know, can you still hear it? Can you imagine it?
Well, okay, I'll continue the story because I'm going to answer that. So I had a sample of that in the box, and then we went down into the subterranean temple, and when we were in there, I got, I did my touching today, and I got this message that it's like, okay, well, like, you back here again. It's like, you're the last person on Earth that needs more cellular regeneration. but okay, because I was like, okay, well, give me more, yeah, whatever. And I just got a tone here, and I got the feeling, okay, it's something. But later on that night, this is where I had the aha. I was sitting in my hotel room, and I heard that tone, and I got the thought that, oh, it's still with me. The vibration that I picked up there, it's always with you, but you just got to know how to zoom into it and notice it and stuff like that. It's like, oh, this is really cool. I'm in my hotel room and I can hear it. And so it's really cool. And I'll tell you later on. I think I downloaded some information to help humanity on cellular regeneration. So some practical tips that, because I've read all the books for like Dr. Joe Dispenza and stuff like that, and I understand them, and they work on a human 3D level, how it impacts the serotonin, and that's all true. But I think I got another layer of information that can help people with cellular regeneration. So I'll write it up, and we can talk about it.
Yeah.
But
What did you get?
it's tied into the seventh ray. It's tied into um, mind, body, spirit complex, and
Coherence, yeah.
it's and coherence, and it's tied into how to use it. That it's like three angles to use it, and then the three angles, when you mix it together, you do alchemy, and it produces something that's totally different. But you got to know how to use these three waves and integrate them together in order to produce that alchemy. And the alchemy is the cellular regeneration.
So are the three angles mind, body, spirit?
I think so. I think so. Yeah, I'll write it out. I get little glimpses of it, but yeah, it's like mind. You got to do your mind in a way that the mind activates it one way, the body activates it one way, the spirit activates it one way. That when you charge them together, they produce alchemy to basically do cellular regeneration in a way that if you did it separately, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'd also like to know what that hertz was, and maybe that's the question you could ask white light.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all I know is from my perspective, it felt like it was right here and here. I just had a sensation in the ring, and it was a distinct position, kind of in my imagination of where it was in my ear.
Yeah, and you might want to ask if that's clairaudience too.
Oh, okay. I never thought about that. Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's that skill kicking in.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Did other people hear that?
Well, people who stick their head in that box, they've been known to hear something. And one of my friends actually stuck her recorder in there, and she got something.
Oh,
she got like a spirit talking to her that came out in the recording. It was a weird whoosh kind of thing that came in when there's no sound. Yeah, normally when they stick their head in, they hear some kind of ringing of the air or some kind of vibration. I mean, that's why they've done that for centuries. That it's a temple where they have like 5 boxes, and then you stick your head in the box, and then you hear it.
Yeah, so it might be interesting to know what the hertz was for the box that you stuck your head in, and if the other boxes had different hertz.
Okay. Yeah, I maybe they did, because right. So I think that kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah. How many boxes? 5 boxes in total?
Well, left right now there's like 5, but at the original temple maybe there was like 20, because it's all ruins right now.
Okay.
But yeah, and then we went underneath because the temple's all on top, but then we went subterranean. There's this big colossal structure there that none of them knew what it was for. And then so this is really going to be cool. And yeah, you're right. So then one of the areas that we went under is this big mystery to all the archaeologists, because it's this I'll send you a picture of it. It's this grand temple where they don't know how they built it and how they got in there. It's a sarcophagus. And they were rumored, because the sarcophagus are like 25 feet long, and they're thick. The lid itself is like that thick.
Yeah.
And they don't understand how they got the sarcophagus in there, or how they opened the lids.
Yeah.
And not only that, but why would you make a sarcophagus that's 25 feet tall? And they were saying, oh, they're making it for bulls, the mummies of ancient bulls, but that's all bullshit.
Yeah.
That's all bullshit. What I got, Gary, and this is really, really cool, is that those are cellular regeneration chambers for Anunnakis. Because Anunnakis are that height. And not only that, but every sarcophagus there is a little bit different, like 1 or 2 feet shorter or taller. Some are 20 feet, some are 30 feet. And it's because Anunnakis, some of them are taller than others. So each of them was for a particular Anunnaki for cellular regeneration, because when they came here, the atmosphere was different and their bodies weren't used to this denseness. So they had to go there to help get used to it thing. It was never like a coffin. It's for cellular regeneration, which explains how they were able to develop it in that beautiful tunnel with these beautiful carved sarcophagus that were so large, and they never found anything in there or any practical use for it, and they couldn't understand it. But it to me, it's cellular regeneration. So that's something I want to ask White Light or someone about.
Yeah, because I've also heard of the King's Chamber, that sarcophagus is for, downloads.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But it's for humans, because the size of it is more for humans.
Okay.
These are 30 feet tall.
Yeah.
The one in the King's Chamber is built for a human.
Yeah, that'd be two excellent questions there.
No, I'm pretty sure about it. And then to top it off, those big sarcophagus were built in that area where cellular regeneration. That's where all the cellular regeneration temples are. So I'm pretty sure the Anunnakis built those sarcophagus things for their cellular regeneration to tap the energy of Earth, because that area had that vibration. And they knew it. They know how to mathematically tap into the vibration of the Earth for their optimum use.
Yeah.
So, it's really, really cool. It's beautiful. It's beautiful when you go in there. You're wondering, how did these humans fit these? The sarcophagus are the size of the hallway, and so there's no way you can move it in there, because you just can't. You can't. So they never figure out how they got in there, how they got out, what the technology is to carve it. But it's like, no, it's all Anunnakis. That's why.
That's exactly why.
And it's so clear also that the technology that they use for the pyramids, it's all Anunnakis. That's how you dig up stones.
What we heard, I can't remember who from, but it was sound vibration that shrunk the stones, and then you could move them and then put them in place.
You could levitate them.
Right. And then, or they were really light. And then you put them in place, and then you let them go back, and that's how they fit so perfectly.
Yeah. I even got that the way they did it is that they tapped into the consciousness of the rock, and they became one with the consciousness of the rock. Mm-hmm. That once you understand we're all one, you can actually communicate to the rock as if it is you. And with that, you can ask it, because you're asking yourself to do it, to shrink it, to remold its molecules, and then to expand it or to levitate it. But it has to do with energy, vibration, and sound.
Right.
I think that to me that's just like obvious.
Obvious now. Once you get, now you know why they fit together so perfectly, why they don't have to be the same size. And then everything was built just from the base up. So now we're ready for the sarcophagus. Now we put on the walls.
And that's why that technology is found throughout the world, like in Mount Pachacoochoo, or you have stones like that are the same thing. It's because that's the same technology,
Yep.
It completely makes sense.
Yeah, you can't even fit a razor blade between those seams.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, they're beautiful, but it's like, it's like that's the only way. There's just not a human explanation for it. It's other technology.
Yeah.
So
did you get into? Were you able to get into one of those sarcophaguses?
Just in the Great Pyramid, just in the King's Chamber.
Not in the Step Pyramid.
No, they are only open. You can't crawl, go in there. They do not allow you that's all roped off and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. But I was able to touch some of them, and when I touched it, that's kind of like where you feel like some vibration of knowledge from it, like that. And so a lot of things that the humans get mixed up on is that it was created by the Anunnakis, but then like all subsequent things, the humans go in there and they write on it, they graffiti on it.
Yeah.
Right. They make it look like they did it when really they just came afterwards and they chiseled their name on it and stuff like that. Yeah. So but yeah, I truly think that those large sarcophagus were for the Anunnakis and they were for cellular regeneration. And maybe I don't know, maybe other purpose like transporting. But I get the heavy feeling that it was cellular regeneration because that's what the whole area of being was cellular regeneration.
It totally makes sense. It's just like now that you hear that, and you can imagine how harsh this environment would be for any other, alien to be here.
Yeah, because the density on Earth is so much thicker.
Yeah, and gravity is so much more.
Yeah, and but they had high technology, so they can figure out how to adjust their bodies. I mean, what I know about the Anunnakis, we're gonna have a whole other session on that. Is that when they came to Earth, they actually aged. They normally live a lot longer, but when they came to Earth, they aged a lot quicker. So much so that when they visited their parents back in their original planet, they looked like their grandparents. Their parents stayed the same age because in fourth density and above, you can pretty much pick your age and you look back your age. Our life. Yep. But when the kids went back to see their parents, they looked like their grandparents. They just aged. Even with the cellular regeneration chambers, they just physically looked really old and haggard.
Yeah.
So no, it's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, one of the things that I think I want to ask White Light about is the whole. We're gonna get into some cosmic questions with White Light because everything is attached, Gary. But especially with my background, a lot of my questions are galactic. They're ET-ish because it just kind of branches out.
Right.
So here's a good human question for you. It's normal and okay for me to investigate that. Because on the one end, Gary, I know that once I cross over, I'll know all that shit, right? But part of my human experience is it's like doing a crossword puzzle. It's the fun of discovering it and learning about it and having discretion, even though I know the answer. And when I cross over, all the answers are there. But it's the fun of doing a crossword puzzle.
So I got this last night. Is that when you get a thought, you bring non-physical into the thought form. When you speak that thought, it's even more powerful because you're speaking it into your reality. And when you take action on that idea or create something from it, that's when you are able to show it and share it with others.
Correct. I mean, I'll even add to that is that not only do you speak it, but when you do hand mudras, you're also pulling it down into the physical existence and pulling it down to this dimension. So you can do it by voice, you can do it by hand. Your actions nail it down to this dimension.
Yep.
And I completely get that concept, and it makes a lot of sense. Oh, cool. Yeah, I do get like joy out of doing a crossword puzzle. I don't know how else to put it.
Well, it's like that's why you get joy. That's what lights you up.
Yeah.
But what you're actually doing is bringing it in from the non-physical to the physical.
Yeah. Okay. Even though the non-physical knows about it, because the non-physical knows everything, but it can't feel it.
Yes, but we don't know it. That's why you're bringing it from the knowing to the unknowing. In this density, in this environment, we don't have that same kind of access, especially normal people.
Yeah.
So imagine you're a philosopher and you get an idea, and now you write a book about it, and then everyone else shares your philosophy, right? You've brought all that information, like whoever it is, right? And so that's what it's bringing the non-physical into the physical.
Gotcha. So I think also conversely, we are giving to the non-physical the emotion of it, the joy of it, right? Because while they have the knowledge, they don't have the feelings.
Right.
So that by we bring in the knowledge and experience it, they can now know how it feels to experience it.
And to see where it takes everyone, because it's super interesting.
Yeah. And everything kind of blooms and blossoms and triggers other things to bloom and blossom.
Exactly. Makes it easier for other ideas to come in.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Hold on 1 second here. Christy was trying to reach me. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll go over some other sites later, and I'll give you some pictures in advance just to go over the themes, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, there are other ancient sites there that have different themes.
What was another one?
There was one on birth. Actually, in the subterranean part of the Great Pyramid, there's actually another additional room that goes deeper and a smaller canal. And I didn't go into that one, but some people did, and theoretically, it's an even smaller crawl space surrounded by dirt, and people get claustrophobic because you just keep on going there like that. And some people went in there and got claustrophobic and had to back out, but if you back out, you have some people behind you, some people in front of you, so it's a to-do. But I didn't have that experience. I wasn't led there, so but some people had that birth canal experience, and then they told me afterwards they some of them like had a difficult birth coming out into this world, so they kind of relived some of that trauma or squeeziness. Yeah. But yeah, so that was like another theme. Oh, so another thing, and I'll talk about this later on, is there is a site that's known to be a Stargate. It actually is known to be the Stargate of ancient Egypt.
What's that site?
Oh, I can't remember. I'll send you a picture of it, and I'll give you the official name. But yeah, it was a Stargate. It was a, let me phrase this in a way that it was a Stargate for the third dimension, because we know that there are Stargates throughout Earth for different dimensions and different density. But for humans, that was a Stargate for humans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it Abydos?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, here it says Ra, the Egyptian god of the sun, is referenced in the Stargate mythology, and so is Horus.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And I know the history of Ra and Horus, and it's like a Stargate. It's a Stargate, and we were on the actual Stargate. They destroyed it, but my question is, who destroyed it? Did the Anunnakis destroy it, or the humans destroyed it? And I guess the answer is both. Because at a certain point, the Anunnakis, you'd be like giving your kids matches to play with when they don't know how to use fire, right? So I think the Anunnakis destroyed it. And then also the humans destroyed it because they carted it off to different museums and stuff like that. But there's still the basis of the Stargate is there. So that's what we all sat on and meditated and try to tap that portal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you get anything there?
I did not. No, I mean, I meditated and I just kind of talked with my inner self, but I did not get any direct information like I did in the step pyramid about cellular regeneration. Cellular regeneration, I got a lot of information, but at the Stargate, I just meditated and I just tried to feel the vibe, and I did not get any direct information. Maybe something will come.
Yeah.
But I did get the sense that it's a Stargate. Yeah. Okay.